Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections, where we explore the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we have something truly special to talk about, the 1925 Buffalo Nickel. This coin may seem like just a simple 5-cent piece, but trust me, it's far from ordinary. If you're into rare coins or simply looking to discover something that could make your collection worth a small fortune, you'll want to stick around for this one. First, let's take a moment to appreciate the iconic design of the Buffalo Nickel. Struck between 1913 and 1938, this coin features one of the most famous designs in American numismatics. On the obverse, you'll find a profile of a Native American, and on the reverse, the majestic American bison stands proudly. These designs, created by artist James Earl Fraser, have become symbols of strength, freedom, and the American frontier. The design was so bold and unique that it became an instant favorite among collectors and has stood the test of time as one of the most revered coins in U.S. history. Now, let's talk about why the 1925 Buffalo Nickel is so special. Sure, millions of these coins were produced, but what makes this particular year stand out in the world of collecting is its rarity and the errors that were made during the minting process. While these coins were widely circulated at the time, many were used and worn down, which means that finding one in excellent condition is incredibly rare. If you're lucky enough to find one in great shape, especially with certain minting errors, you could be sitting on a coin that's worth far more than its face value. One of the biggest things that can make the 1925 Buffalo Nickel especially valuable is the presence of a double die obverse error. This error occurs when the coin is struck twice by the same die, causing a doubling effect on certain parts of the design. For the 1925 Buffalo Nickel, this is most often seen in the date or the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust. If you look closely, you might notice that these letters or numbers appear slightly doubled or offset. This is the key sign of a double die error. These coins are highly sought after by collectors because they're considered a rare and unique variation, and having one of these in your collection can significantly boost its value. Another important factor that can drive up the price of a 1925 Buffalo Nickel is the condition of the coin. Most Buffalo Nickels from the 1920s are found in poor condition due to the design's high relief features, which wore down quickly with circulation. The Native American and Buffalo designs are particularly vulnerable to wear, and finding a coin where these details are still sharp and clear is extremely rare. If you happen to have a 1925 Buffalo Nickel in excellent or near mint condition, it could be worth far more than a typical coin from this series, but the rarity doesn't stop there. Another minting error that collectors often look for is a weak strike. This happens when the coin doesn't get enough pressure during the minting process, which results in faint or incomplete details on the design. This can be particularly noticeable on the buffalo's body or the ground beneath it. A weak strike is an indicator of a coin that didn't meet the quality standards at the time, making it unique and more desirable among collectors. You also have the possibility of finding a Buffalo Nickel with an off-center strike, where the coin isn't perfectly aligned when struck, causing the design to shift. These coins, with their misaligned features, are very appealing to collectors who are looking for something different and unusual to add to their collection. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin can be. Now, let's talk about the value. How much can a 1925 Buffalo Nickel actually be worth? Well, depending on the condition and the presence of any errors, a typical 1925 Buffalo Nickel might only be worth a few dollars. However, if you have one in near mint condition, or if it features any of the rare errors we've discussed, such as a double die obverse or an off-center strike, you could be looking at a much higher value. Some 1925 Buffalo Nickels have been known to sell for as much as $78,000, that's right, $78,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's incredible, isn't it? When you think about it, this coin is more than just a piece of U.S. history. It's a treasure that can be worth a small fortune depending on its rarity, condition, and any special errors it may contain. If you happen to have a 1925 Buffalo Nickel sitting in your collection, or if you come across one while searching through your change, don't overlook it. This could be your ticket to an incredible windfall. So, whether you're an experienced coin collector or just starting out, always be on the lookout for rare coins like the 1925 Buffalo nickel. With the right error or in the right condition, it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Today's video is going to get your heart racing. We're talking about the 1934 Buffalo nickel, a coin that might just be sitting in your collection or your change jar, and it could be worth far more than you think. This little 5-cent piece has a lot of secrets to reveal, and trust me, you won't want to miss what we have to say about its rarity, errors, and potential value. Let's start by taking a quick trip back in time. The Buffalo nickel was first introduced in 1913, and it quickly became one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. Designed by James Earl Fraser, the coin features a Native American on the obverse and a majestic buffalo on the reverse. These images are not only beautiful but also represent a significant part of American history, making the Buffalo nickel one of the most beloved coins in numismatics. But here's the catch: not all Buffalo nickels are created equal. In fact, some are much rarer and more valuable than others. Today, we're focusing on the 1934 Buffalo nickel, and this coin is a real gem. While the U.S. Mint produced millions of Buffalo nickels during the early 20th century, the 1934 version stands out for a couple of key reasons. First, the mintage numbers for this year were fairly high, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll easily find a 1934 Buffalo nickel in great condition. The high-relief design, with its intricate details of the buffalo and Native American, meant that these coins wore down quickly in circulation, leaving many of them in poor condition. So, finding one that's well preserved and still shows sharp details is a rare and valuable find, but it's not just the condition that makes this coin valuable, it's the minting errors that could be hiding in your collection. And trust me, coin errors are where the real magic happens. The 1934 Buffalo nickel is particularly well known for a few important errors that collectors go wild over. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design to be struck twice in slightly different positions. As a result, you'll notice a doubling effect on parts of the design, especially the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." These doubled elements make the coin unique and much more desirable to collectors, as they are considered a rare error. If you come across a 1934 Buffalo nickel with this type of error, you're holding something truly special, but that's not the only error to keep an eye out for. Another popular minting mistake on the 1934 Buffalo nickel is a repunched mint mark. This occurs when the mint mark, indicating which U.S. Mint facility produced the coin, is struck more than once. The result? A doubled or misaligned mint mark that adds another layer of rarity and interest to the coin. These errors are quite difficult to find, so if you're lucky enough to have one of these in your collection, you could have a real treasure on your hands. And let's not forget about the weak strike. When a coin is struck with less pressure than normal, some of the design elements don't fully imprint on the surface. This leaves parts of the buffalo or the Native American's portrait faint or incomplete. While a weak strike may not be as noticeable as other errors, it's still highly sought after by collectors who love the unique characteristics of coins that don't quite fit the mold. The more noticeable the weak strike, the higher the value of the coin can be. Now, we've covered the errors, but let's talk about the condition of the 1934 Buffalo nickel. If you happen to find one that's well preserved, with sharp details, no significant wear, and a high-grade finish, you're looking at a real prize. Coins that have been well cared for and have maintained their original sharpness, especially in the details of the buffalo's body or the Native American chief's face, are in high demand. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, how much could this 1934 Buffalo nickel actually be worth? If you've got one in exceptional condition, or if it has one of those rare errors, like a double die obverse or repunched mint mark, you could be sitting on a fortune. In fact, a 1934 Buffalo nickel in prime condition or with a notable error could fetch as much as $68,000. Yes, you heard that right, $68,000 for a single nickel. It's not every day that a 5-cent coin could make you a small fortune, but the 1934 Buffalo nickel is one of those rare exceptions. Now, before you rush off to check your coin collection, let me remind you, while most 1934 Buffalo nickels won't be worth that much, it's still worth taking a second look at any you come across. Even if it's not a high-grade specimen or doesn't have an error, a well-preserved coin from this year could still be worth a lot more than you expected. And if you happen to find one with an error or in mint condition, well, you might just have a $68,000 treasure hiding in your collection. Today, we're diving into the world of the iconic Buffalo nickel, focusing specifically on the 1935 edition. You may think of the Buffalo nickel as just another coin from the past, but trust me, there's more to this 5-cent piece than meets the eye. If you've got one of these in your collection, or if you're out hunting for hidden gems, you'll want to pay close attention. This coin has a fascinating story, a rich history, and a potential value that could make your jaw drop. Now, let's take a step back and talk about the Buffalo nickel as a whole. First struck in 1913, this coin is one of the most beloved and recognized in American numismatic history. Designed by James Earl Fraser, it features a profile of a Native American on the obverse, with a majestic buffalo on the reverse. The design is timeless, and the Buffalo nickel holds a special place in the hearts of collectors due to its artistic beauty and the representation of American heritage. But as with many coins, not every year is created equal. The 1935 Buffalo nickel is one of those years that stands out to collectors, and not just because it's part of the iconic series. In fact, the 1935 coin is known for its rarity, its minting errors, and the conditions that can make it incredibly valuable. While the U.S. Mint produced millions of these nickels, the vast majority were circulated and have been damaged over time, which means that well-preserved examples are relatively scarce. So, what makes the 1935 Buffalo nickel so special? Let's start with the low mintage numbers. While not the lowest in the series, the 1935 Buffalo nickel still saw a reduced mintage compared to some other years. That means fewer coins were produced, and fewer survived in good condition. The wear and tear from everyday use meant that most of these coins lost their fine details, making it harder to find one with a sharp, crisp image. This scarcity of high-quality examples is what drives the value up. Coins in pristine condition are incredibly hard to find. Now, we can't talk about rare coins without mentioning minting errors, and the 1935 Buffalo nickel has some fascinating ones. One of the most coveted errors on this coin is the double die obverse. This occurs when the coin is struck multiple times by the same die, causing parts of the design to be doubled. You'll usually see this doubling on the date or the inscription, Liberty, and sometimes even the words, "In God We Trust," can show this double strike effect. These doubled features make the coin much more desirable because they are unique, meaning no two error coins will be exactly the same. A double die obverse on a 1935 Buffalo nickel can send the value soaring, but it's not just about the errors. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in its worth. Like many other older coins, the 1935 Buffalo nickel was circulated widely, which means that coins in high grades are extremely rare. If you can find a 1935 Buffalo nickel in mint state, without any significant wear, clean surfaces, and visible details, you've stumbled upon something extraordinary. A coin that shows off the buffalo's full profile, with sharp features and detailed fur, is a highly sought-after treasure. But there's another error you might find on the 1935 Buffalo nickel, and this one is less common but just as valuable: the weak strike. A weak strike happens when the coin doesn't receive enough pressure during the minting process, which results in certain parts of the design being fainter or partially incomplete. On a Buffalo nickel, you might notice this particularly on the buffalo or the ground beneath it. While it might look like a flaw to the untrained, collectors often go wild for weak strikes because they're considered rare and unique, especially if they make the buffalo appear partially ghosted. Then, we have the off-center strike. This error happens when the coin isn't aligned properly when it's struck. The result is a coin where parts of the design are missing, or it looks like it's been pushed to the side. An off-center strike on a 1935 Buffalo nickel is rare, and the more dramatic the error, the higher the coin's value. If the misalignment is extreme, this could be a highly valuable piece in the eyes of collectors. Now, let's get to the big question: how much can a 1935 Buffalo nickel be worth? Well, let's just say that finding one in pristine condition or with a minting error could bring in a hefty sum. A well-preserved 1935 Buffalo nickel, particularly one with an error like a double die obverse, weak strike, or off-center strike, could be worth an astounding $66,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $66,000. That's a lot of money for a coin that was originally worth just 5 cents. But when you factor in the rarity, the errors, and the excellent condition of a 1935 Buffalo nickel, it's clear that these little pieces of history can become big-ticket items in the world of coin collecting. So, next time you're going through your collection, or maybe sifting through a pile of change, don't overlook those Buffalo nickels. If you've got a 1935 in your hands, take a moment to examine it closely. Look for those key features, errors, wear, and condition, that could make it worth much more than a nickel. Who knows? You might just have a $66,000 coin hiding in plain sight. Today's video is going to blow your mind. We're taking a deep dive into the 1936 Buffalo nickel, a coin that might be sitting in your collection right now, or one that you might stumble upon unexpectedly, and it could be worth way more than you'd ever think. Let's get into why this particular year of the iconic Buffalo nickel is so valuable and what makes it such a sought-after piece for collectors. The Buffalo nickel, which was first minted in 1913, is one of the most iconic and recognizable coins in U.S. history. Its design, created by James Earl Fraser, features a Native American profile on the obverse and a majestic buffalo on the reverse. These design elements are not just artistic, they carry significant cultural symbolism and represent a key part of American heritage. But what makes the 1936 Buffalo nickel stand out among the rest? For one, this particular year carries a unique blend of rarity, condition, and errors that make it a prized possession for collectors. While millions of Buffalo nickels were minted throughout the years, the 1936 issue is one of those years that's not as commonly found in high grades. It's one of those rare instances where a coin from a seemingly common year can command top dollar, all because of its scarcity in excellent condition. To start, let's talk about the low-grade survivors. Like many coins from the era, the 1936 Buffalo nickel was widely circulated, which means most examples have seen significant wear. Over time, these coins were used in everyday transactions, and as a result, many have lost their sharp, detailed design. However, finding a 1936 Buffalo nickel in exceptional condition is a rarity, and that's where the value comes in. Coins that are well preserved, especially those with crisp details, sharp lines, and minimal wear, are incredibly hard to find, and they are what collectors covet most. But it's not just the condition that makes this coin valuable, it's the errors and unique features that can dramatically increase its worth. One of the most sought-after errors on the 1936 Buffalo nickel is the double die obverse. This happens when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned, causing certain parts of the design, like the date or the word Liberty, to be doubled. This doubling effect is a mark of a rare error and can make the coin incredibly valuable. If you're lucky enough to have a double die in 1936 Buffalo nickel, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Even if the error is subtle, collectors will pay a premium for coins that exhibit this type of rare feature. Then, we have the repunched mint mark. This occurs when the mint mark on the coin, which tells you where it was produced, is struck more than once, either by mistake or due to misalignment. The result is a misplaced or doubled mint mark, a feature that's highly prized by collectors. If you can find a 1936 Buffalo nickel with a repunched mint mark, especially one that's visible and easy to spot, you could see your coin's value rise significantly. There's also the possibility of a weak strike, a problem that occurs when the coin doesn't receive enough pressure during the minting process. This results in a coin where parts of the design are either incomplete or faint. For the 1936 Buffalo nickel, this often happens to the Buffalo, whose features might look blurry or shallow. While this may seem like a flaw, to a collector, it's actually a rare feature that adds to the coin's uniqueness and value. Now, let's talk about the condition of the 1936 Buffalo nickel. As I mentioned earlier, these coins were widely circulated, and most of them show signs of wear. The highest quality coins, meaning those in mint state or near mint state with few signs of handling, are extremely rare. When you find a 1936 Buffalo nickel that has sharp detail, a crisp outline of the buffalo silhouette, and no noticeable wear on the Native American's portrait, that's when you've got something special. Even without an error, a high-grade coin from 1936 can still command impressive amounts of money, but when you combine both rarity and condition, you've got a true treasure. So, how much could a 1936 Buffalo nickel be worth? Well, if you're lucky enough to have one of these coins in top condition, or with one of those valuable errors like the double die obverse or repunched mint mark, you could be looking at an astonishing $63,000. Yes, $63,000 for a 5-cent coin. That's right, this small, humble nickel could be worth an absolute fortune, depending on its rarity, condition, and any errors it might have. Of course, the chances of finding one of these rare, high-value coins are slim, but it's still worth looking through your collection or keeping an eye out when you come across Buffalo nickels from the 1930s. Even if your coin isn't worth tens of thousands of dollars, it could still have some surprising value, especially if it's in excellent condition or features an error that collectors are looking for. So, to wrap things up, 1936 Buffalo nickels may seem like a simple 5-cent piece, but they're much more than that. They are filled with history, artistry, and, in some cases, incredibly valuable errors that make them highly sought after by collectors. If you're lucky enough to own one, take a close look, it could be worth a lot more than you think. Today's video will have you on the edge of your seat. We're diving into a gem of American numismatics, the 1937 Buffalo nickel. This little 5-cent piece might seem like just another coin from the past, but trust me, there's so much more to it than meets the eye. And by the end of this video, you'll see why this specific year is one that collectors are willing to pay big bucks for. Stick around until the end, because you might just find yourself looking at a coin that's worth a small fortune. The Buffalo nickel is one of the most beloved coins in U.S. history. Struck from 1913 to 1938, this coin features a Native American profile on the front and a majestic buffalo on the reverse. These symbols have long been associated with American heritage, and the coin has become a classic in the world of numismatics. But when it comes to specific years of the Buffalo nickel, some stand out more than others, and the 1937 Buffalo nickel is one of those special years that you'll want to keep an eye on. Let's talk about what makes the 1937 Buffalo nickel so intriguing. First off, it's important to understand that not all Buffalo nickels are created equal. While many were minted, coins from certain years, like the 1937, are much harder to find in high grades. So, what does that mean for collectors? It means the coins in pristine condition are incredibly rare and highly coveted. If you come across a 1937 Buffalo nickel that's been well preserved, with sharp detail and minimal wear, you could have something worth a lot of money on your hands. But the rarity doesn't just stop at the condition of the coin, it's also about the minting errors that can significantly increase its value. For the 1937 Buffalo nickel, there are a few key mistakes that could make your coin stand out from the rest. Let's take a look at the most sought-after errors on this particular year. One of the most interesting and valuable errors is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin is struck more than once by the same die, causing parts of the design to be doubled. On the 1937 Buffalo nickel, you might see this error most clearly on the date or the word Liberty on the obverse. A double die coin can be a game changer for collectors, and it will certainly add significant value to your coin. If you spot the doubled elements, you've got a piece that could be worth far more than a standard issue. Another notable error that collectors go wild for is the repunched mint mark. This happens when the mint mark, which indicates where the coin was produced, is struck more than once. A repunched mint mark on a 1937 Buffalo nickel makes the coin much more valuable, as it's considered a rare variation of the original design. If you find a 1937 nickel with a noticeable repunched mint mark, it could be a key piece for your collection and potentially worth thousands of dollars, but there's more to the 1937 Buffalo nickel than just errors. Let's not forget about its historical context. The year 1937 was an interesting time in American history. The country was still in the midst of the Great Depression, and the economy was recovering slowly. During this time, the U.S. Mint was cranking out millions of coins, including the Buffalo nickel, which was widely circulated in daily transactions. That means the coin wasn't treated with much care by the general public, and most examples saw heavy wear over the years. So, how does this tie into the value of the 1937 Buffalo nickel? Well, as we mentioned earlier, coins that are in excellent condition are incredibly rare and valuable because they weren't produced in high numbers with pristine features. Coins that have sharp designs, with clear details like the buffalo's fur and the Native American's profile, are highly sought after. The value of a coin increases significantly when the details are intact, and this is exactly what makes the 1937 Buffalo nickel worth searching for. Now, let's talk about the most important question: how much is a 1937 Buffalo nickel really worth? You may be surprised to find that even though it's just a 5-cent coin, it can be worth a lot, especially if it's in pristine condition or has one of those valuable minting errors like the double die obverse or repunched mint mark. If you've got a 1937 Buffalo nickel that meets these criteria, it could be worth an impressive $80,000. That's right, $80,000. This is no ordinary nickel. This is a rare piece of American history, and finding one in excellent condition or with a minting error can bring in a huge return on investment. Whether you have one already or you're just now looking for one, this coin could be your ticket to a serious payday. But remember, the key is finding one in high-grade condition or with rare errors. If you're out there hunting for Buffalo nickels or going through your old collections, make sure to check every detail closely. A small minting mistake or a coin that's been preserved in near-perfect condition could be worth much more than you'd expect. Thanks for watching this exciting deep dive into the 1937 Buffalo nickel. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future discoveries. Keep those eyes peeled for rare coins, and who knows, your next big find could be worth a small fortune. Happy collecting!